Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Feather and Fur. Your host, Brad Hurlebaus, and tonight we have the OG himself, Ryan Schiller.
Feather and Fur.
The
Fur and Feather.
The Feather and Fur. It's like the Ohio State.
What's happening, man?
Not much. You know, we're living this weather roller coaster. Other than that.
Yeah. Yesterday I fished Lake Michigan in the morning, and all I had on was a hoodie because the water temps were 47, 48 degrees, and the wind was out of the southeast, so it was a little cool. But then I came home, jumped in the kayak, fished in a t-shirt and I don't know, like kayak pants, outdoor active gear pants, and was super warm. And then this morning I was sitting here working on the laptop, and cotton ball size snowflakes were coming down. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's kind of, I woke up this morning, go take the boat, getting some things changed on the boat. So I'm taking it to a buddy who's a welder. So I'm going to get some things modified on the new ride or new ride as of last year. And I'm like, I wonder how many people have sunburn in the snow right now. Because yesterday I was out on the kayak, I was fishing for a few hours, had a really good day on the water. Like the tops of my feet got burned between my sandals and my pant legs. Right. Because, of course, I didn't remember sunscreen, and I didn't have any in the kayak yet for that tiny little 4-inch section. So the tops of my feet are sunburned, and it's snowing outside. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, we all knew it was coming, right? And it was just like, give me a break, man. Like, we finally got a week of like decent weather in the 70s, and I was like, finally, it's fishing season. And unfortunately, that Mother Nature likes to play dirty tricks on all of us. So what are we going to do, right?
I feel like we got a real early taste, just as like a tease, like after this long winter. I feel like the winter just kind of dragged on. Like we kept getting late snowstorm after late snowstorm. So why wouldn't there be a week of it? It was in the 80s here, and then look, 3 to 6 inches of snow tonight. Really?
Yeah, right.
Possible.
Yeah. Well, I know you had posted in the group chat, like Green Bay was supposed to get 4 to 8. And a friend of mine was up there fishing all week, and they were catching 50 to 80 walleyes in a day. And now it's going to get a foot of snow. It's just like, what is wrong with the Midwest right now? It's just crazy.
It was ridiculous. Last night we were looking because I'm trying to figure out when to take that boat to the welder. And I'm like, and I'm reading different weather reports, and they're like, oh, it could be 3 inches. And they're like, this model shows 3 inches. This model shows 13 inches. I'm like, how can they be that far off? Like it's in the middle of winter. It's not even that bad. Like, how can it be that far? Like 3 to 13 inches. That's your prediction? Like, that's what we're looking at here? Come on. Can we narrow the window down?
Yeah. Well, like I always say, I wish I got paid $100,000 a year to be wrong on a daily basis,
Right.
Good old weatherman, can't trust him any farther than you can throw him.
Absolutely crazy. Well, man, it's good to have you back on the show. I don't think you've been on for like a year.
Yeah. I can't remember. I don't know. They all run together.
Yeah. You're on a few. Yeah. You're a familiar voice.
Well, especially lately, like when this releases, it's day one of the paddle and fin kayak fishing tournament down on Dale Hollow Lake. So, I've been doing, it seems like 2 or 3 of these things a week for the past month, plus, some of my New Canoe podcasts and not podcasts, but recordings and stuff I've been doing for them and all that kind of good jazz. So yeah, you gotta love it.
Staying busy in the audio community.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's one of those things, man. Just grinding it out, keeping it going.
It's what you got to do sometimes. I feel that right there. I mean,
yes, sir.
I never realized until I got a show just how much work it really can be, right? Like it's so much more than just talking to someone for an hour
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
a screen, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a grind, man. It's a grind. And yeah, it's something I've been doing for a few years. So it's just like second nature now, But yeah, what are you gonna do?
Few years. This is season 6.
Yeah, but there was something goofy in there where like season 1 ended, season 2 was only like 6 months, and then
Got it.
because like we ended season 1 after like the first official year, and then season 2 only went like 6 or 7 months, and then we started the new season after the first of the year rather than the anniversary, just to make it more copacetic
Sure.
numbers wise, so
Sometimes you got to sometimes you got to change that fiscal year around, man.
yeah, right. Yeah, so yeah, it's what, 2018 is when we started. It's 2023, so yeah, 5 years. 5 years.
That's a heck of a run, man.
Actually, yeah, it'll be 5 years in June. June 26th, I think, was the first airing of Paddle and Fin. So, but yeah, it's been a long run for sure.
It's awesome though. I mean, like there aren't many out there that's got 7-day-a-week programming like this one, and the variety of shows.
Yeah, no, and I've mentioned this on other podcasts I've done. There's a statistic out there, and I think I heard it on Joe Rogan's podcast actually. Um, Out of the millions of podcasts that are out there, only I think it's only like 70 or 80% of them made it past episode 12. And most people start podcasts and they think, I'm going to gain this huge following and, this and that. And, it's going to become this huge thing when in reality, it's a small or a slow growing process, unless your name's Joe Rogan or, whoever. But, unless you're already famous, if you're starting a podcast on your own, like it's a grind and it's going to take some time. And, you know, in order to build up a following, whatever. And, obviously, when we started the podcast, we didn't think anybody was going to listen. I remember we used to get excited about, you know, one of the first episodes getting like 50 listens, and we were like giggling like schoolgirls,
Sure.
and
Sure.
now it's like thousands, stuff like that. So, it's one of those things, but I don't know. Numbers don't phase me. I've learned to not pay attention to numbers over the years. It'll eat you up and, make you go bonkers. A lot of guys get focused on that. And it's like, the way I look at it is, who cares at the end of the day? You're doing what you love, and hopefully you're making an impact somewhere along the line of, either getting somebody to pick up a fishing pole or a compound bow or a rifle or a shotgun or, whatever. you know, we're in the outdoor space. So that's why I'm using those references.
Right.
But
Right.
that's the big thing. As long as you're offering some kind of educational value, I think you're going to have listeners regardless. But that's, like I said, when we started, it was more of a way to document what we were doing and helping others learn from our mistakes, which I think we've been pretty good at because we make a lot of mistakes. And by we, I mean me. Um,
When you were saying like, I hope like if, as long as your show provides like educational value, and I'm like, yeah, my show tells you exactly what not to do.
Yeah, well, right. And like that's the biggest thing, right? Like that's how we all learn lessons since day one when we were crawling. Oh, don't, do this, otherwise you're gonna fall on your face, right?
Right.
And that's a big thing, right? Like life is just a big freaking lesson. And the more of those mistakes you can learn from and then help others by learning from your mistakes, the better off you're gonna be, man.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that
Yeah,
the truth?
for sure.
Well, You've got some newer news. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I know you've talked about this in other episodes, other hosts and whatnot, like on the Dubro side. But it's fun to talk to you about like your new position with Pine Ridge Archery.
Yeah, I got super fortunate, got hired on with them. So, Pine Ridge Archery is owned under one umbrella. They have three companies. It originally started back in the 50s. Dubro Products. They make like a lot of RC airplane and helicopter parts, RC cars, things like that. And as the company grew and progressed back in the 80s, they started Dubro Fishing. One of the owner's hobbies was fishing, and with us being in northern Illinois, Lake Michigan's right there, and they were big into salmon and walleye fishing out on Lake Michigan, Green Bay, things like that. And they had some ideas for some products, so they launched Dubro Fishing, and then Pine Ridge Archery was born in, was it 1996, 96 or 97? 97. See, it says it right there on the banner. Since 97. I knew that. So I was close. Pine Ridge Archery started in 97. The company itself, they do a lot of injection molding and machine type parts that are made in house. And a lot of our capabilities from the hobby world played a role in the fishing and the archery world, So it was kind of a no-brainer, so to speak, for them when they added the archery lineup, because a lot of the parts we make, a lot of them are injection molded. Um, some are machined, like our aluminum peep sights. Our stabilizers have some metal parts in there, so those are machined. But the actual vibration part is a molded part. Kisser buttons. We do the plastic peeps as well. Nitro buttons, speed bombs. All that good stuff. So, I mean, we've had quite a few great. I like to refer to Pine Ridge as like the terminal tackle company of archery, right? Like that's what
Right.
we do. We make a lot of
Sure.
terminal tackle type parts, So my boss probably wouldn't like that term, but I don't think he would disagree either, right? Like, it's not that it's terminal to where like it wears out and then you got to, replace it, but it's those smaller little individual items that you use to get your overall bait, right? Or,
Right.
I'm
Right.
from the fishing world, right? I
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a bow hunter, but it's and we got some cool hunting gear stuff too, and stuff that plays a role in the traditional archery realm. 3D target shooting is a big thing, so we got some things in that realm, as well as just normal target shooting and stuff like that. So but I mean, you go to an archery shop, more than likely they got some Pine Ridge Archery stuff. More than likely the peep sight on your bow, the kisser button on your bow, uh, some of the vibration stuff on your bow is all from Pine Ridge Archery. And I mean, we do make some stuff that's OEM for a couple of bow manufacturers. So,
Sure.
you may not know it's Pine Ridge Archery, but it comes from our facility.
Right. And I mean, if you're going to your local bow shop and you're getting your things set up and they're like, all right, you want to get a peep and you want to do some of this other stuff. A lot of people, I know when I got my first show, picked out my first bow, I didn't even like, I just told them what I wanted. They got it there and then we tied everything in, but I have no idea who manufactured what they put on my bow. Like
Yeah.
set it up with good stuff.
Well,
So it
and
probably was Pine Ridge.
yeah, right. And that's one thing we've talked about too. Like, so Pine Ridge got really big with colors, right? Before, back in the day, you could only get what was it? Black. It was basically black or tan, I think. Peep sights and Back then they used to have the silicone tubing going back
Hmm.
to your peep. You would get black or tan or something like that. But Pine Ridge really blew up when they came out with all the different color options. So now you could accessorize your bow to fit, whatever color scheme you wanted to go with. And
Sure.
part of that was back when I believe it was Matthews. It was Matthews or another bowstring company came out with the colors in the bowstrings, because back in the day, bowstrings were just black,
Right.
and then somebody was like, hey, we could incorporate orange into your bowstring, or we can incorporate gray or tan or, whatever color you want. So, Pine Ridge started those options with the different colored peep sights and kisser buttons and stuff like that. And that really drew a lot of attention to them and really exploded the archery business for them because they had those capabilities to do that. It was just all a matter of putting a different color plastic in the mold at the end of the day. So um, that's Pine Ridge Archery, how they kind of blew up and all that good stuff. Little history lesson there. It actually all stemmed off the remote control airplane world, which is kind of wild.
Crazy. That
Yeah.
is wild. I mean, you don't see much of a correlation there, right?
No, 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 no. Well, I mean, you do, right? It's hobby, right? Hunting is a hobby for most. I mean, a few are fortunate enough where it's their job, but it's that whole hobby thing, right? Fishing,
Right.
hunting, the remote control stuff. It's all hobbies to most, and so I mean, that's probably the common denominator there, but it was the guy that started it, Dewey Broberg. He saw an opportunity to make a part for uh his remote control airplane. He thought he could do something a little different, a little better, and started selling it. And it took off and it grew into you know uh a huge manufacturing company that is family owned. Obviously, his family doesn't own it anymore. His sons and daughters ran it for a while, and my boss now currently had purchased the company back in 2000 or 2020 after he had worked there for 20 years or 19. So it's always been a family run business. Made in America is one of the biggest prides in the company. Is all our stuff is made right there in house. Um, so that's important to a lot of folks, and especially us. On the manufacturing thing, we're providing jobs for everyday Americans, and that's a huge thing nowadays in the manufacturing world.
Absolutely. I mean, that goes a long way. I mean, there's a lot to be said when something's made in America. I mean,
Yeah, buddy.
it's not easy to do it either. There's
No.
more regulations, there's more restrictions, there's a lot more that goes to keeping industry and business here.
Yeah, no, 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 for sure. And that's the thing, right? Like we've talked about, a couple items we could make in all three companies, right? But EPA regulations and stuff like that kind of hold us back on those things. So we kind of just let those be. But yeah, I mean, 99.9% of everything that comes out of our building is made right here in the States. So
That's awesome.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that 0.01% is the stuff that is EPA regulated. you
Sure.
know,
Right.
so it's one of those things, but yeah, and that's huge, man. And that was the thing too, is when the whole job opportunity came up. That was one of the biggest draws for me. Was obviously it was working in the outdoors industry, but B, the Made in America thing was huge. We're not making just a bunch of, or importing a bunch of Chinese garbage and slapping a sticker on it and saying, "Oh, this is Pine Ridge Archery," or "This is
Right.
Dubrow Fishing."
Right.
So that was a huge thing. huge thing for me, man, because I've always worked for family businesses. I tried the corporate gig once, and I was like, "Yep, no thanks, I'm out." And it's just different. You know what I mean? Everybody in the facility is, it's like family.
Sure.
Walk around, say hello, ask how your day is going, things like that. Corporate world, you don't necessarily get that. It's where's my TPS reports? We're gonna need you to come in on Sunday.
It
But
can be that way, but it can also be that way in small business too, though. I mean,
sure.
you have to find the right fit and the right environment.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I agree. And that's it, right? Like and that's something I'll say too, like just talking about the company as a whole, like uh I would say half, if not more, of the people that work there either hunt, fish, or fly remote control airplanes.
Sure.
So it's their hobby too, so they're passionate about it. Granted, some of the employees they don't care. That's not their stick, but they're passionate about what they do, and they love their job, they love the company, and they enjoy rolling out of bed in the morning, getting there, and doing what they do.
I mean that's a huge thing. 'Cause, I mean, when you work for a company that values its employees
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
employees want to be there, I truly believe you get a better product at the end of the day because they care more.
100%. And that's one thing I will say is that, you know, uh, the boss man and his wife, they obviously run the company, and they care about everybody. They care about everybody's opinions. They don't just jump to conclusions or not listen or things like that. So that's huge, and that's why these three companies have been so successful over the years, right?
Right.
You know, having that open ear and open mind, and always looking to progress and move forward and make new products and be more efficient and things like that.
That's awesome. And it also helps like with the innovation side, like what you said,
Yeah.
bringing new products. I mean, innovation's huge. So when you have employees that are active in the outdoor industry and they know how things are made and they can see what needs are out there, it can drive innovation to create new products. And that can come from in-house then.
Yeah. 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 Well, and that's for certain, right? Like I've seen and dealt with that firsthand, right? Like I'm heavy in the fishing industry, and I'm like, why aren't we doing this? Or why do we do this? Or things like that. And it sparked some conversations and things like that. And we got some new products in the works for sure. Uh, can't give any exclusives, but
No, no.
yeah, but and that's the thing, right? So one of our newest products that we dropped at ATA this year was the rail mount quick stand. We came out with the quick stand bow stand a few years back, and we offer it in a bunch of different color combinations because that's our thing. But
Right.
it keeps your bow upright, and a lot of tournament shooters like it. And a lot of ground blind hunters like it too, because you could have your bow sitting upright at the ready rather than laying down in the grass, whatever. And same thing with target shooters. Now you're not having a in archery shops and areas love it too, because now they don't have to have a bunch of these bow hangers. Everybody's walking around with these bow stands.
Right.
So we incorporated that into a crossbow, and we came up with the rail mount quick stand. Um, so it's basically a molded piece that mounts on your Picatinny rail, and now you can use our existing bow stand with it. And that was developed partly because the owner's son hunts with a crossbow.
Sure.
So I mean that's innovation from within, right? And um as crossbow hunting has become so popular, because a lot of states back in the days, the only way you could hunt with a crossbow was if you were over a certain age or had some kind of physical condition where you couldn't draw back on a normal traditional or compound bow. so with the uprise, so to speak, of crossbows, I mean, it only made sense. Like, what stuff do we make? Can we incorporate into that crossbow? And there's a lot of stuff that we do make that doesn't get incorporated in some crossbows. Like if you got a split limb crossbow, you could use our split limb dampeners. Some guys have used like our speed buttons and things like that on their strings. Now the rail mount quick stand, which we released it. It's not for sale yet, but should be available end of May, beginning of June. So just getting that fine dialed in, and it'll be available for purchase.
That's awesome. I see they're already on the website for those that want to go check it out.
Yeah. We put it on the website. It's marked sold out right now. That's just because we haven't put that out to the general public. It'll be you could buy the actual rail piece itself for $10 if you got an existing bow stand, and then I think the combo is $35. So you get the quick stand and the rail mount. But the best part is, and this is what I'm excited about because I hunt with an AR 450 Bushmaster, is it'll work on anything with a Picatinny rail. So I can use it on my AR during rifle season. I can rest that on a branch. You basically have a lightweight bipod at that
Right.
point. You know what I mean? So, and I know I kind of told you about it after we released it, and I'm just jonesing to get it in the field, and not only that, but like going to the range, right, and dialing in. Like you can
Sure.
basically bring that instead of a bag, and I mean, granted, bags might be a little more efficient, but when you're talking deer hunting, as long as you're in that 3-inch circle, you're good. But um super cool, innovative stuff that also carries into other realms of hunting.
Right. I mean, anything with a rail on that, anything with a rail.
Yeah, it's anything with a Picatinny rail. All Picatinny rails are basically made the same size, so yeah, anything with a Picatinny rail, and you can add a small piece of Picatinny rail to any rifle you
Right.
want for $10, if that. um I think Magpul makes one for like $8.95 or something. But because I think that's the one I got from my AR to mount on the
Sure.
bottom,
Sounds right.
and but I mean, there's so many rifles out there that have them on there already. I mean, it's not just for mounting scopes on, right? And so that's a huge thing. Being able to open up the realm to not only archery but other forms of hunting was a cool door opener for us.
That's cool. But then I know you're like in other areas that people might not know as well. Like I'm on the website poking around, and I have before, but like you make some different like trail camera supports and things like that also.
Yeah, the trail camera supports, that's something that was released a while back. I remember it was released back when I got into hunting or bow hunting back in like 2009, 2010, something like that. But it was for areas where you necessarily didn't have a tree, right? And
Right.
you could put this mount on a fence post, one of those stake posts, things like that. Um, you know, Something super cool, simple. The hunting gear equipment hanger that we make is a huge thing, especially for public land hunters and now saddle hunters, because you're hunting public land, you're not supposed to screw into a tree.
Right.
So that was a cool, efficient way to do that. Is it's a strap with 3 molded hooks, and you can actually add more hooks to that. We sell the hooks separately, but you can hang a shotgun on there, your bow, your backpack, things like that. Like me, I'm always hanging my backpack and hanging my bow until I see a deer, and usually my quiver, right?
Right.
So it was a cool, cheap, efficient way to solve that problem, so to speak. And that's where a lot of our products come from, is just solving problems or issues that, we see in the field. And um, in the field or at the range, right? So, that's another huge thing. And then the branch hangers or branch holders too. Like those are super unique, and they haven't really like blasted that out to the world. But if you want to conceal your tree stand, like it's super cool. Like we mold these little holders, and you could either mount it to your stand or mount it to the tree with the strap, and you just cut off a few branches and stuff them in there. Now you're like totally concealed into your little stand area, and I sound like a total noob hunter when I say that, but it conceals it kind of conceals your hide, right? Like
Sure.
in duck hunting, right? Like your
Oh yeah.
hide is everything. It's kind of similar in archery hunting, or any kind of hunting, right? Like you're always trying to hide from the animal so they don't know you're there, so you can get a nice clean shot. And so those branch holders are something that we sell a bunch of throughout the hunting seasons, which is super super cool too. And it's so simple, it, and stupid yet effective, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
it's not the fact that it's stupid, it's just like, holy crap, how come nobody thought of this way before, right? Like when you want to conceal your hide. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you don't have
it's
to have you don't have to put a big blind up around you or anything like that.
no,
You
right,
got
right,
that little tube that comes. It's basically like shoving a rod in a rod holder for all the guys, like for the ones
right,
out there for fishing. But you just cut a
right.
chunk of a pine branch, and
Yeah,
you shove some pine in front of you, let it fan out, and then you got this big area of concealment now.
yeah. Yeah, it's super cool, man. And we sell it in a couple different ways, between like the the mounts for the tree stand you can get individually, or you can get the strap kit, or you can get a two strap kit plus the tree stand ones, and vice versa. We got a few different options on those, in ways of purchasing them. But yeah, super cool yet efficient. I may be dragging a few tree branches with me into the woods this year, just to conceal myself a little bit. But yeah, man, I mean it's something cool, unique, different, right?
Right.
It's something that you wouldn't think of until, because we've all had that tree where you're like, this is the perfect tree to be in, the deer moving through here, or whatever animals you're chasing. And then you're like, but I got no hide. I'm kind of
Right.
like out here in the open. Well, now you can change that pretty dang efficiently.
Yeah, those are cool. I'm assuming like the rest of the stuff, it's pretty lightweight.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, those little plastic pieces weigh ounces plus the strap. I mean, it's like a typical cam strap basically.
Sure.
But yeah, super lightweight. But the plastic is, there's different forms of plastic, right? And different forms of hardness and brittleness and things like that. So those, I believe, are made with a type of plastic that's called super tough. So it's super stiff. It's not going to flex on you. It's funny, like, because we've had this conversation at the office before, in relation to some other products. But you can virtually make plastic as hard and as strong as steel, but people can't get past the fact that plastic is plastic, and they think it's just cheap and brittle. Like there are some ways to get plastic super durable. Like I guess there was a tree stand company for a little bit. They were making their platforms out of plastic, and super strong, durable plastic that was as strong as, any aluminum or steel out there. But they fell flat on their face because, everybody was like, "Huh, I'm not going to
Right.
trust that. It's plastic. But that's the problem, right? Is the average consumer doesn't understand the capabilities of certain types of plastics. So,
Sure.
yeah.
No, that makes sense. I mean, everybody's had a bad experience with plastic. Who hasn't kicked a 5-gallon bucket and it's cracked?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
And that's some cheap plastic right there.
but that's
But
plastic. Like you kick a piece of steel, right? Like I
oh
get
yeah,
where the mentality comes from. I get
sure,
where it comes
sure.
from.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? Like that super strong, durable plastic is a fraction of the weight of steel, or
Right.
aluminum. but it's just as strong, and people just can't get past that fact. And I get it, right? Like, you're basically putting your life in the hands of a plastic platform, so to speak. But, at the end of the day, you'd be totally fine. But, at the end of the day, you're standing on a piece of plastic, right? But when
Right.
you look at like certain things like starboard and things like that, like look at how durable that is and how much that's used in everyday stuff now. It's okay. Well, maybe I could, but
Right. Right.
we can go down a whole rabbit hole with that. But yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, as far as the branch holders go, and the tree, the equipment hanger too, it's the same stuff. It's super strong plastic, so when you're hanging your, $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 bow off of it, you're gonna have zero worries.
Right.
I mean, that plastic that's used is super, super strong.
Not sure if you can hear that craziness going on above me or not.
Is that the dog?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She got a bath, so she's got the zoomies right now. I already know exactly what's going on up there. I can tell.
Old Pippa.
Oh yeah, she's flying around for sure.
Love
But
it.
you make fingers, like for the bow fishermen out there. I know you make finger savers.
Yeah. Finger savers are huge. Like, obviously, I think we offer those in 10 or 12 different colors. But yeah, I mean, we have the normal size version in the XLs. So, that's super huge for, all the Genesis bow users, which are, youth target bows. That's a huge thing. And, but also, the bow fishing guys, things like that. Yeah, it's basically a nylon soft plastic, same kind of plastic that's used in our kisser buttons and stuff like that. That's super soft.
Sure.
So it gives you a nice little cushion when you're pulling back and you got all that pressure on your fingers, like your bowstring. So, yeah, finger savers, definitely have those. We also have, in the same realm, we're one of the biggest providers for D loop or string loop, for your release to clip onto as well. And we offer that in all different colors. But yeah, the finger savers, obviously, traditional archers, things like that, they're huge on those nowadays, and have been for a while. So that's been a product that we've had that's been around for a long, long time. But yeah, if you're a bow fisherman, yeah, at the end of the day, instead of the creases in your fingers being bloody, from drawing back on a string, I would highly recommend getting our finger savers because they will save your fingers, just like the name says. So,
Guy I
but
know from like mud boats up here and all that. Big bow fisherman. He went down, he headed south, and what did he have? A 682 fish day yesterday?
oh wow,
Like
wow,
ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
that's
Like
crazy, man.
like that's a lot of shooting. And I don't know how many guys are on his boat. If I had to guess, probably 4 or 5, but still. Even if there
That's
was 6 guys on there, that's over 100 fish a guy.
I mean, what do you do with that? Do you just have like 55-gallon garbage
Yep,
cans, like
55
in the?
gallon garbage cans. And he's got a big boat. I don't know if it's a 22 or 2472 dual outboard, like not outboards, but dual mud motors. Like it's a big boat. And like
Jesus.
the entire deck was filled with 55 gallon, like contractor grade garbage cans, every single one of them full of fish. And he's joking. He's like, haven't sunk the boat yet, but it was only a couple inches above the water line.
I bet, dude. That's a lot of fish. Lot of fish. And I'm sure it was all carp, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts. But
Yeah, I'm excited to get out. That's one thing I'm going to do this year. I'm going to throw some lights on the New Canoe Unlimited, and I'm going to get out and plan to shoot some fish out of that thing this year. I think that'll be
that'll
a
be
fun
cool.
time.
Heck yeah, man. That'll be fun. For sure. For sure. Yeah, I've never bow fished, but I've heard many good things about it, and yeah, I would have to say, like, out of all the stuff we offer, that's probably the biggest thing is the finger savers that we offer that the bow fishermen just go nuts over just because, like I said, it's in the
Right.
name. It saves your fingers, especially if you're having that many fish shot in a day. I mean, just
Yeah.
think about how many times you're drawing back, you know, but that's
That's
crazy.
that's crazy. That's a crazy day. Like I that can't be like he's down in some really good waters. I know that. It's like going to a trophy bass lake, right? And hammering a
Sure.
bunch of bass. I get it where he's at, but he had a couple of days that were just outstanding like that. I'm like, man, if you're into bow fishing, like I don't know where he is, but like that's where like that's got to be bucket list for people,
That's where the term it's like shooting fish in a barrel comes from.
right? Right?
I love it. Love it. Love it, man. Love it. Yeah, no, the other huge thing that we make as well that's become more and more popular, and as people are getting educated about it, is our vanes for our arrows. And we came up with our arrows, which are actually injected molded, whereas pretty much every other arrow vane on the market is punched out of a sheet of plastic. Um, so our arrow vanes, the fact that they're molded, you're getting the same weight and size and less tears and things like that. Um, you know, all those factors are taken out um, of that concept when it's actually molded. And also on the bottom of our veins, we have these glue pockets, so it gives you more adhesion to the arrow, so they're going to stick better. But we actually, they when they came out with the veins, they actually sent them out, and I forget who it was. I want to say it was a college or a university or something like that. It could have been some other scientific place. Don't know exactly. But they drew up this huge long report on our veins and compared them to other veins on the market. And out of the bow, we were a little bit slower, but we shot straighter. Our groupings were more efficient, and we hit the target first. So
Interesting.
it was slower out of the bow, but it hit the target first and harder with our veins um, compared to the rest. And the groupings on them are stupid crazy, you know. And part of that too, right? Like they when they did it, obviously they used all the different veins on the same arrow type and things like that, you know. So
Sure.
it wasn't like, oh, they shot these on, Easton arrows, and they shot these on Carbon Express, and then they shot these on, whatever. They were all shot off the same arrow shafts out of the same bow, all that stuff. But yeah, they have this huge report, and that report is actually on our website on the homepage. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, it says why nitro veins are better, and you click on that read more. And basically, that's like a summarized version of it. But that report, I actually have it on my desk, and it's like legit like 10 pages long, and
That's
it's
awesome.
it's crazy. Yeah, and we have that's what it is. We have the most retained energy, getting to the target. So
Sure.
verified by ballistic systems. So that's who did the test. So um but yeah, it's super crazy, man, that molding a vein versus like punching it. Cause I forget who was, I think it was Blazer Veins or somebody like that showed a video on like how their veins are made. And it's basically, they just run them through a press and it just punches them out. Um, so a little bit quicker making those, but, um, our veins, you're getting the same weight and efficiency out of them time after time. And it's got the rounded fronts and backs. So when you go through a target with a flat edge, right? If you look at an arrow vane where it comes up off the arrow shaft, usually it's a flat squared off piece in the front.
Sure.
Because ours are molded, we can round that so it penetrates through a target better. So it's not ripping your vein off because it's not catching that flat edge, which is another like cool thing that many people don't realize. And we mold them in all the different colors like we do everything else.
Sure.
Yeah, man, something super cool that we make that a lot of people won't think about. But we got more and more shops carrying them now. And, part of that is we make fletching glues, insert glues, things like that. A lot of times, like if your shop's making up those things for you, they're using our stuff. So, which is super cool.
So, it looks like it's more than just parts too. Cause like what you said, there's glue and it looks like there's tools and accessories. So it not only, it gives you everything you need to like you offer everything an archer would need to like want to start to build their own stuff to a degree.
Yeah. And that's just it too, right? Like if you're a guy that likes to build your own arrows, especially like a lot of target and 3D shooters and stuff, they build their own arrows. So like we have all that stuff to build your arrows. Obviously your arrow shafts are going to come with your inserts and nocks and stuff, but glues, veins, all that good stuff. And that's the thing too, right? Like just because a lot of our stuff is carried in archery shops, we do have quite a few products that you can put on your bow yourself without a bow press. Cause a lot of times, I think people think that, they got to take their bow to the bow shop to put some of our products on, which isn't the case. Like we offer our kisser buttons in two options: a slide on, which slides onto the string, or a slotted, which just slides over the string. And then you crimp it comes with crimps and you crimp it onto your string. You don't need a bow press for that. We got the wishbone string dampeners. Those you just, it's kind of hard. What does that look like? It's like a circle with like two little tails coming off of it, right? And you slide those two tails through the circle and you pull it tight, and now you got a string dampener on there without putting it in a bow press. And that was part of the reason we came up with that. Same thing, like if you shoot a split limb bow, those split limb dampeners, all you do is wedge it in between your limbs, and boom, there you go. And those work on crossbows too that have split limbs, because a lot of crossbows are doing split limbs now. So that's the thing, and speaking of target shooters and stuff like that, and even if you're shooting in your backyard at a target, what is the biggest struggle everybody has? Pulling the arrow out of the target.
Always.
So that same nylon material we use in our kisser buttons and stuff, which is super tacky. I shouldn't say that. It is slightly different than our kisser buttons and stuff, because the kisser buttons aren't tacky, so to speak. But this material that we mold our arrow pullers out of, it's that same softer nylon material, but it's got a little more tack to it. So you could literally slide this over your arrow shaft and pull it right out of a foam target, which everybody struggles with. And it's like 98% easier to get that arrow out, instead of like sweaty hands, like pulling on the arrow shaft, thinking you're going to break your shaft or throw it out of whack or whatever. Those arrow pullers are badass. And we molded in a little hoop at the top, and we send it with a carabiner, so you can hook it on your belt loop. You could hook it on a backpack, things like that, when you're going around, shooting or whatever. So that way you're not losing it. And this year we only offered it in black for a couple of years. And this year we launched it with some color options. We molded it in lime green, orange, and red. And basically it was those three colors just because they're brighter. So if you drop it in the woods, it's going to stick out. A lot of 3D archery shoots are in the woods. So a lot of guys were dropping the black ones and couldn't find them. So we're like, hey, we can mold these in a brighter color, So And that's typical Pine Ridge fashion, right? So those arrow pullers are badass. And not only that, in the back of them, you'll see when you guys check them out, is there's 3 holes, and those 3 holes have 2 purposes. One is to tighten field tips, so you could slide your field tip on there and like squeeze down on the arrow puller like you would pulling an arrow out, and you can tighten that up. And then the second one is a some lighted nocks. It'll actually extinguish the knock if you put it in that. So a lot of hunters will keep their um, they'll keep their arrow pullers on or in their backpack in the field, because if they shoot an arrow, now they can put their knockout with that
Sure.
that arrow puller, which it only works with certain brand lighted nocks. I should know which ones it is, and I don't remember what it is offhand, but a lot of them will have that internal thing where, you know, you squeeze it and it extinguishes it. The ones where you got to go in through the end and poke a little, like almost like paperclip size post into it, those it will not extinguish. But yeah.
It's a sweet little arrow puller, that's for sure. Like looking at it quick on the old interwebs, that's definitely one. Like if you're a target shooter, that's one to go check out.
Yeah, the tubular one you're looking at, right?
Yep.
Because we do have the big pad looking one, which is a little different. But the tube one, you know, it's right. We have a banner right on the front tab. Yeah, I know the guy that made that banner. It was okay. But it's yeah, it's pretty efficient, And then, you know, like, you know, we were talking about, like, you know, guys that want to build their own stuff. Like, we're known for the Allen wrench sets. Everybody knows about the yellow Allen wrench, Archery Allen wrench sets. Those are ours. You know, we've had them for many, many years, and it basically fits every hex pattern on your bow. We also have the Star Drive ones for, I think it was Matthews or somebody had Star Drives for a bit, but then they went back to hex. So, you know, the yellow Allen wrench. It's funny, when we were at ATA, we always bring a few extras that aren't packaged up and they're just loose to hand out to, you know, dealers or whoever, you know. And so many people were putting their booths together, and they'd come over and they'd be like, "Hey, do you got a loose one of those Allen wrenches I could use? I got to put my booth together." But everybody knows that Pine Ridge Archery's got the yellow Allen wrench set, so let's go find Pine Ridge's booth. You know, and that was my first time at ATA, and my boss is like, "Hey, just so you know, a bunch of people are going to come over looking for Allen wrench sets because they're trying to put things together. The loose ones are in the cabinet down below. Just give them one and tell them to keep it, you know." So it's kind of funny. Like, you know, he called it before we even got there, and I'm sure that's something they've run into for years, you know. But yeah, that's one thing. And then two, like going back to arrow building, you know, we have the original arrow spinner. So, you know, a lot of shops use these where, you know, you get a shaft and, you know, 99% of that shaft will be straight, but you will have a little curved off portion of it sometimes. So with our arrow spinners, you spin the arrow shaft in it to see how balanced it is and see how good the shaft or how straight the shaft is. And then if you have a section of it that's out of whack, you can cut that off and know where it is by spinning it in our arrow spinners. That's another hot item that we sell quite a bit of, because guys, you know, are building their own arrows. And not only that, but the shops are carrying them and spinning their stuff as they're building arrows for their customers. And it shows that they're going the extra mile to make sure they got some nice straight arrows going out the door.
Right.
So,
and for I mean, anybody in archery, like, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like a crooked arrow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I could throw some jokes out there, but we'll leave that. We'll leave that be. But yeah, that arrow checker, a huge thing. I'm just trying to think what else. We talked about the quick stand bow stands. You know, all the dampening stuff for your bows. We make stabilizers as well. Split limb dampeners. Hunting. Yeah, we cover. Oh, target pins. We make some pretty badass target pins for like hay bales and paper targets and stuff. Our target pins are actually used at the Lancaster Archery Classic every year for all the targets. That's what holds the targets in, and those things are pretty dangerous, man. Like, we have to put a protection tip over the end of those because they're so sharp, and those are molded right in the factory. Like, those could be dangerous. I'm just saying.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, a lot of the bigger like target shoots and things like that, they use our actual target pins for that, which is kind of cool.
Those are kind of cool. Looking at them, like it's got like a nice finger hole, and like those are kind of cool.
Yeah. It's efficient, you know, whereas a lot of the ones that are used out there are like little metal, like just chintzy pins, you know, where ours are plastic and reusable. We sell them in 4-packs and 100-packs. So, you know, a lot of archery ranges and stuff will just order a 100-pack, and they're so affordable too. Like, I think it's for a 4-pack, it's like $4.95 or something stupid like that, you know. But you want to hold your target or paper targets, things like that. That's the pin to use for sure. Like I said, you know, a lot of our products, Lancaster Archery is one of our big distributors. And so they order those by like 1,000, especially come the classic time. Like, they get stocked up just because we sell so many, or they use so many targets throughout that whole shoot. So
Sure.
they're just stockpiled, and you can go on our Instagram. I think it was back, Lancaster shoot was in end of January, I think. And on our Instagram, there's a picture of it, you know, of one of the Lancaster targets being held in by our target pins, which is kind of cool, you know. That's a huge thing in the archery world is you know, the Lancaster Archery shoot every year. Lancaster Classic is what it's called. We sponsor that event, so we always have a billboard up where the shooters go out to shoot and stuff like that. But they use all of our target pins for that shoot, which is cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool that just another thing that you're injection molded too, right? They don't have to, it doesn't have to be metal.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, it's a little bit better for the environment. You know, that plastic can be recycled and stuff like that. So there are some products we use recycled plastic for, but a lot of it is virgin plastic. But you know, things like the target pins, those are made out of recycled plastic. You know, so
nice.
Yeah, super cool. You know, you can recycle some of the hot stuff, and you know, versus, you know, the metal that's just going in a scrap pile or a junkyard or, you know, the trash, the dump, you know. So but yeah, I mean, it's super cool. And I mean, I didn't know a ton about injection molding before I started there, but I've gotten a pretty good education over the past few months for sure.
You had to learn quickly.
Yeah. So, but
that's a lot. I mean, that's cool. It's cool to actually like to hear the history of Pine Ridge, and then to like really dig deep into their products, man. There's a lot of offerings there.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like, you know, a lot of people don't know how much stuff we do make and offer, and they 9 times out of 10, they have a Pine Ridge product on their bow or in their arsenal. They just don't know it. You know what I mean? It's just because it's like we talked about, like, you know, you go into a bow shop, you're getting your bow set up, and you know, you're like, I want a 1/4-inch peep. Sure, I'll take it in blue. And yeah, put some string dampeners on there. I'll take those in blue as well, this and that, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, but they don't know it's necessarily coming from Pine Ridge Archery. Whereas we've gotten way better about putting our name on certain products where we can. You know, some of those products are so small you can't necessarily emboss your name on it, you know, whether it's molded or not. But yeah, it's one of those things, man. You more than likely you have some of our products, you just don't know it. So
yeah, real hard on like a little kisser button or something like that to get like Pine Ridge spelled all the way out.
yeah. And you know, you could do pine or PR or something like that. And we try to incorporate things like that, you know what I mean? But you not always can get that all on there, so to speak. But yeah, it's one of those things, man. What are you gonna do? But yeah, I'm like I said, more than likely you got some Pine Ridge stuff on your bow. You just don't know it.
Right.
But
Which is good and bad. It shows you that it's that trusted in the industry that people just go and use it. But like it's
yeah,
hard to market those smaller things, right? So people don't even know they're using it.
well, yeah, totally. And I mean, like, for instance, like our speed bars or speed buttons. Is it speed button? No, it's not the speed buttons. It's the gosh, I forget the name. It's like a speed button. Da, 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 da. I'll tell you. Or is it the Nitro Button XL? It's one of the two. Yeah, the Nitro Button XL. So all elite bows come stock with our Nitro Button XLs on it, which a lot of people, if you know Pine Ridge Archery, you would know that. But we make those for their bows, and there's a few other outfits like Elite that we do make parts for and get placed on their bows, stock straight out of the factory. So
That's cool. Like it just shows you the amount of pride that goes into like the work and the craftsmanship where it's not just some random company offering it. Like these are like tried and true and manufacturers trust it and competition shooters trust it and you don't even realize it probably but you're already trusting it yourself.
yeah, right. And that's just it, right? Like it's anything we put out there, we field test. It's not like, oh, we got an idea, let's make it, and then oh, it's just a big turd, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
we go through the whole process of like 3D printing, where 3D printing works, getting smaller molds made up where we can inject it with a similar type of plastic or things like that, and actually take it out in the field, test it out, make sure it's going to work, and all those good things before we actually turn around and send it to market. You know what I mean? So like that rail mount, that rail mount piece was 3D printed. Those photos that you see online is actually the 3D printed version. The plastic molded version will be 100% exactly the same. The same CAD drawing that was made to make that 3D printed version is the same CAD drawing that's used to make the mold. So there will be no difference there. But, you know, to make a mold isn't cheap, so you got a 3D print or things like that. And we have a bunch of ways to do prototyping and things like that, so we can take it out into the real world, test it, make sure it's going to work before we turn it around and say, here you go, everybody, you should buy this. You know what I mean? So, and that's the
Right.
thing, right? Like, that there's been some thought, a lot of energy, and a lot of use going behind those things before it turns around, before it even gets to market. Whereas, there's other companies out there, and I'm not just speaking just in the archery world or fishing world or whatever, but in the world in general, a lot of people don't take that extra step to actually field test their stuff before it gets released to market. And it ends up being a turd. And then people are pissed off because they spent money on, their hard earned money on, a product that actually failed them. So, and we don't ever want that situation. So that's why we go through the extent of testing and things that we do, to ensure that, it's gonna, if it meets our standards, it's gonna meet your standards, because we're picky. I'll say that much, you know.
Picky's a good thing. Picky's a
Yeah.
good thing when it comes to anything. Like
Yeah.
picky
Oh
means
yeah.
quality. I mean, that's just quality control.
Right. Well, and for instance, right, since 1997, obviously we've done something right to get this
Right.
far, right? Dubro fishing started in 1982. Obviously, we've done something right this far. And Dubro products in the hobby world, started in 1952, I think it is. I'll look that up real quick. But, obviously we've done something right thus far to make it this long and, employ as many people as we do. And, we, 1959. I thought it was 52 for some reason, but 1959 is when we started. And, we have a huge, what was it, 40,000 square foot facility that everything's made in and run out of. So, like I said, man, American made, American jobs, American products, and, America.
Well, I mean, I'll link all this in the show description for everyone. Make it super easy for you to find. You want to call out the websites quick, Brian? I'm sure you know them off the top of your head for those that are driving right now that are going to listen to this rather than look at a description.
Yeah. Pine Ridge Archery is just pineridgearchery.com. Dubro Fishing is dubrofishing.com, and in the airplane world it's dubro.com. Dubro is Dubro. But I'll throw it out there because I'm the marketing guy and I get to do cool stuff like this. I'll throw a promo code. Anybody that's listening, if you want to pick up any Pine Ridge stuff, use promo code PNF20, and that's all caps, PNF20, and that'll save you 20% off. So yeah, there you go, man. Save
awesome,
folks few percentage points, but yeah, man, it's cool. We're always coming out with new stuff. I know most hunters are fishermen, so all I can say is come ICAST, just be watching Dubro Fishing. There you go. But
I'll have to keep an eye out for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And Pine Ridge Archery, sign up for our email list. We're always sending out deals and stuff like that, sales, stuff like that. That's all my doing, my realm. So sign up for our email list. I'm always sending out, different promos and stuff like that. Like, it'll be over by the time this airs, but like for instance, this week it was buy 100 pack of nitro veins and you got a free hat. So,
Sure.
cool stuff like that, so sign up for that or watch our socials as well. We're Pine Ridge Archer on Instagram, Dubro Fishing on Instagram, and we're on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff as well. So
I'll make sure all that gets linked real nice in the description. Make it easy for everyone. Go on Instagram, give them a follow, keep up to date with everything new that comes out.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, we try to release some new products every year. You know what I mean? So, like I said, this year was the rail mount, the arrow pullers, and we came out with some. I should say, came out with some bottle tips for our adhesives. That the old guy, our old bottle tips, a lot of people liked. We switched the bottle tips for a certain reason. So we came out with the old bottle tips as replacement tips this year. So, we're always trying to release new stuff every year. Usually on the archery side, all our new products get released at ATA. On the fishing side, it gets released at ICAST. And hobby, I'm not sure.
It gets released.
It gets released at some point. So I think it's usually in summer because that's where a lot of like the bigger stuff happens. If not, it's actually, I take that back. I think it's fall because usually that's the start of build season. Everybody's building their planes during the winter time so they can fly in the summer. So
sure.
Usually that's fall time. So yeah.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you jumping back on the show.
Yeah, no, man. I appreciate you allowing me to jump on, talk some Pine Ridge Archery, and
it's
yeah,
cool
man.
to get the history.
Yeah, and that's the cool part, right? Like I've always been a history nerd, you know what I mean? So when you actually dive in and find out like what's behind the actual company, you're like, holy crap, that's cool, you know? So and especially knowing like where your products are made, who's making them, things like that. It's not just a bunch of corporate investors trying to make a buck, you know. It's actual hunters and fishermen and, you know, model guys and gals, you know, that are passionate about those things, that are actually developing these products and using them and things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Thanks for coming on, Brian. I appreciate it. Appreciate
Anytime.
the discount code for everyone out there. I hope you take advantage of it.
Yeah,
At
man.
least, I mean, for all those archery guys, like grab an arrow puller.
Yeah.
Like, get something
Yeah.
cool. Just get something fun.
Yeah. Our arrow pullers are $14, $14.95, I think.
Right. So, I mean, but shipping and handling, all that's covered with 20% off and maybe a little bit more depending on where you
Yeah.
live. I mean, if you live in Alaska, probably not. Like, but I mean,
No, shipping on that would be dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. I mean, yeah, Alaska might be a little bit more,
yeah.
but that's the thing, right? Like we ship, that's one thing. We ship all our hobby products, archery products, and fishing products worldwide. Like we
Nice.
have, you know, outfits across the world that carry our stuff. Like our fishing stuff is big in Australia, New Zealand, you know, Florida, Chile, Mexico, like all those big saltwater things. We make a lot of freshwater stuff. Um, Archery stuff, we ship that up to Canada, New Zealand again, over in Europe, bunch of countries in Europe, things like that. And our it's crazy, dude, the amount of people in the hobby world. Like I wasn't expecting it, but like seriously, dude, there are people all over the world that are huge into these model airplanes, and I never realized it. And like you look at some of the shipping stuff on our, like we have an international shipper that ships all, or international distributor that ships and distributes all our stuff, but like we'll get tagged in photos from, you know, hobby shops around the world, and it's crazy to see like where our products are going, you know.
Sure.
And how cool is that, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
I see it made in the room back here, but yet it's showing up on a shelf in like, you know, Argentina or, you know, Russia or, you know, wherever, you know. It's crazy. But yeah, buddy.
That's cool. Like,
Yeah, man.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Good
thanks for
stuff,
coming
man.
on. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
To everyone out there, all my listeners, thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, keep chasing that experience.
Yeah, buddy.